everyone has something to share in either wisdom, story, or logic, and it's clearly amazing to hear all the differing missing links discovered by people unique to their own journeys, and in how they have come to discover them. Together, we can help to build a bigger picture for a better future, for a brighter tomorrow. Let's stand united. Let's remove the veils and let's create a new world together. Are you that missing link? Join Jesse Hale on the Missing Link Talk Show as he helps to unveil the mystery through the unique wisdom and store of others.
Welcome everybody here back to the Missing Link. Today we're excited to talk with an independent scientist, researcher of extraterrestrials, their craft, and their influence on humanity, and he's here to share his story. Welcome to the Missing Link, Ryushin Sean Malone. How are you doing today, brother?
Great, Jesse. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. You got a lot of information here to share with us. So why don't you start with telling us about yourself and your journey, a little bit about your background, your education, what part of the world you grew up in, what part of the world you're in now, if you like disclosing that information, what got you into extraterrestrials and knowing about this stuff and into the researching, anything that you wanted to share here with our audience today, especially if they may be hearing you here for the first time.
Okay. My name is Ryushin Sean Malone. I was born at a Buddhist monastery in the heart of the Catskill Mountains of New York State. My parents were both Buddhists, and I grew up in that tradition, a Japanese samurai style. Not exactly all the time, but my parents were involved in it. Mostly my father was a hardcore Zen teacher. And I personally started sitting meditation at the age of 16. And at the monastery I was born at, I also have done sessions at the age of 21 where I experienced profound spiritual awakening. And it was beautiful. It was opening to true self nature, and nothing was more profound than this. And but at that same time, I had an encounter. One night I was sleeping on a futon at my father's apartment, and I opened my eyes to find myself 5 inches from the face of an extraterrestrial being. And it looked me dead in the eyes and held me paralyzed for about 5 minutes. And all I remember I could do was move my eyes. I remember being able to look to the left. And it was pretty shocking, I'll say, terrifying. Because, I've never seen anything like it. And after what seemed like 5 minutes, at first it was a terrifying feeling. I couldn't move. I felt terror. But, I had this training, the Zen training, that allowed me to push past that and go, let me up. And finally it let me up. And I watched the being float backwards through the coffee table, through a Buddha statue, and disappear through the wall while looking at me. And after that, I was like, what is, I dismissed it as uh, a a dream, and I never told anyone about it. And I started, and for many years, nothing like that happened again until I was 37, when I started teaching myself at my Zendo, which is a place of sitting practice, sitting meditation, which is um, basically meditation is exploring yourself, sitting down and dealing with the ego mind and learning how it functions. And by doing Zazen meditation, uh, you are able to penetrate that and learn that it was truly shunyata, or emptiness. But anyway, I had this these two other beings came to me, translucent beings, when I was 37 teaching Zen. And after that, I knew they were real. And I went home and I started to research anything I could possibly get my hands on with extraterrestrial pictures, videos. And it took me about 2 months of going through everything to realize that not everything was real. And there was a lot of fake information. But the story is pretty crazy. What I figured out basically was that we are in the middle of an extraterrestrial time war that has been raging on for thousands of years. It is an ancient battle of something called the balance between God and the devil. And well, what I first, after my second encounter 7 years ago, almost to the day, the Nazca alien mummies were released. Can I share the screen?
Yes, of course.
I'm going to get into it now. I might as well. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Great. The Nazca alien mummies were released. These little beings on Gaia.
What do you mean we're released? Like they opened up the casket and they came out or something?
No, they were released on Gaia TV.
Oh, Gaia, just released at least to the public.
To the public, yeah.
Okay.
And Gaia on Gaia TV. But I knew they were real because of the X-rays that accompanied. I knew they were real because I knew you can't fake nature. And this is the size of a cigarette head, this egg. But the in-depth, and I'm not a radiologist, but I'm not stupid. I can tell what's real and what's fake. And that's a big problem in the UFO community. But this is the size of a pinhead, and you can't fake that. That's nature. That's nature. You can't fake nature. So I knew they were real, and this was a week after I had contact and the second contact. And a week after they were released and I saw them, I was watching Netflix with something called The Empowered Human. And and it flashed this picture of King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti, and I instantly realized, oh, they're the same species, sitting with King Akhenaten and Queen Nefertiti. And they were calling them their children. Oh, they're just his 3 children. Well, they're not children. They're these alien beings. And they were saying that King Akhenaten was worshiping the sun disk, which is Aten, the one true God. And this is going to get kind of crazy, but those aren't his children. They're these beings. And I don't think they were worshiping the sun disk, their vehicle. I think they were worshiping these beings, the Nazca alien mummies, as the one true God. And there's other evidence suggesting, you see how they're patting the chin? They're patting, like admiring their creation. I'm pretty sure these are God. And I say that not lightly, and I know it sounds crazy, but that's okay.
If you've heard the stories here on the Missing Link, nothing sounds crazy, man. We've heard pretty much everything from A to Z. So this is fascinating stuff.
There's all this, all these Mayan tablets are pouring out of Mexico now. This tablet, all of them, it's like 3 feet tall by 4 feet long. These things are massive tablets, carved in stone perfection. And they're full of aliens, and there's hundreds of them pouring out of Mexico now. These aren't trinkets that some, tchotchkeites selling at the side of the road, for $10 to tourists. These were actually being done by the Mayan people, by what they saw. And I think it's very interesting to see that there's King Akhenaten in Mayan, and I know this is real because I have other examples, other pictures I'll show you. But here's the UFO, their vehicle, but it's definitely them. But so if that's their vehicle, then what's this? And I'm pretty sure it's their vehicle. It's not the sun disk they were worshiping. It was them, Aten, the one true God. And I believe it's God, and I'm pretty sure it's God, but like 98% sure. I'm just waiting for either Lou Elizondo to step up and say yes, that's their God, and God themselves to show up, because they're time travelers and they knew this event would happen, and it's very complex. I should have started with telling you guys it's very complicated, this story, because it involves a lot of pain and a lot of suffering by the hands of these reptilian overlords that have been ruling over humanity this whole time. And what I've discovered was that they were in Sumerian times, that these weren't giants, but these were the little people, the Nazca alien mummies, God, if you will. And there's been a war by this Orion group and the Draco, who've been working together, who took over from these little beings. They took over the show. And that's what's been going on. So here's Moloch. This is a Babylonian cylinder seal with the rest of the Orion group. These beings from Orion and Draco took over from these little beings who I believe they're from Sirius. And I can get into that later. But Moloch, child sacrifice. But these aren't children. You can see the being kneeling are the same here, kneeling and being stepped on. And that's what's been going on. There's been a temporal war between God and the devil. This is a hitchhikes 1600 BC with a little being, the Nazca alien mummies. Yeah, I figured out a whole bunch of stuff. You know what's in the bag? Oh, everybody's running around. Oh, it's an oxygen thing and all this. No, I crossed it to this Aztec picture of the feathered serpent Draco or Kukulkan. And what is he doing? He's planting seeds. And that allowed me to figure out what's in the bag. Seeds. They were seeding the earth. And that's why there's so many different bags with animal heads and all kinds of different animals and plants, because they were seeding the earth with animals and plants and all that. But it's an interesting picture because this is probably corn, and corn has a great connection to these beings, the Alpha Draconian. High fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup.
What do they think about the genetically modified corn that's all over the earth now?
Yeah, it's a deal. Well, it's a deal between the reptilians to fatten us up with high fructose corn syrup. That came from a Satan worshiper. And it's true, because it has been fattening up the population up, but I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm going to keep going because it involves the rest of the story. And but I just want to point out that this is probably corn, and they want us to be ingesting the high fructose corn syrup. Corn. Specifically ingesting high fructose corn syrup. That's specifically, they want us to be ingesting that. For trade, you'll see. It's beautiful because it's all being revealed. It's ugly because of the crimes against humanity that have been happening to us and children this whole time. So this explorer found there were a few explorers back in the day, 17th century, where they saw there were 4 pyramids. 4, not 3, but 4. And that's because it was one of their pyramids was landed, and that's the tetrahedron, the all-seeing eye, the Pentagon pyramid, which was probably just landed next to the other pyramids when they saw all of the pyramids back then. And what happened? Where did it go? It just got up and left. But yeah, alien overlords. Yeah. The all-seeing eye on the back of your dollar bill, the Illuminati, they all worship the aliens who've been ruling over humanity in secret. And this whole thing has been a test. It's been a test to who could tell the most truth in the face of the evil. The Codex Gigas, the book of the evil, he drew the same being. It's identical. It's identical with the claws out and all of that. It's virtually the same, like crouching like that, and the horns. And what are these people doing? They're eating human sacrifice. And that's what they were doing. They, most of the pyramids were what I call feeders. Feeders. They were landing sites. And these beings would come down and demand an offering, and they would do child sacrifice to these quote unquote gods, but they weren't gods. They were just extremely sophisticated, extremely intelligent, super intelligent extraterrestrials with great technology, demanding food. And so Revelations, I found these little people helping St. John write Revelations on the wings of the eagle, and Ben Franklin being helped by these little beings with this contraption to harness electricity. Yeah, they were being helped. And that's what's been going on. One side has been helping humanity progress, and the other side has been using us as a food source. The Draco and the Orion group. They've been using us as a food source. And the elite are all involved with it, because they've been suppressing the information this whole time. I've been suppressed myself for 7 years. It's been 7 years since the Nazca alien mummies were released, and since I've made all these connections. The Tesla was being shown craft. Obviously, he was drawing what he was shown, in the 1800s. So, and this information came out of the FBI vault, that the FBI seized all of his papers when he died in New York and kept it under wraps because they didn't want the truth to get out, because they were calling it Night First, which I'll get into in a minute. But Night First, yeah, that's what they've all been calling it. The balance. So these are the Nazca lines, and I saw this, and they look strongly look like they're in the shape of Orion, the Orion constellation. I found the Orion carved into the Hawaii island, the Big Island, and what they are, if you zoom in real close, they are actually pulsar star. It's a pulsar star map of their territory markings, but the Nazca lines are not as significant, because there are lines all over the Earth that are in the shape of these pulsar stars. And a pulsar star is the measurement of light but no Aborigine would know how to measure light from a star like that. No, this was all done with scientific minds, super intelligent minds. But on the big island of Hawaii, there are many of these lines. I know I'm skipping a lot and kind of jumping all over the place, but I'll try to I'll do the best I can. But I found a pyramids that align to the Palladian star system off the coast of Connecticut. If they're down there or not, I don't know. They probably are, but I couldn't get enough funding to go down there and investigate for myself. How about Eric von Daniken? Do you know who Eric von Daniken is?
No.
Eric von Daniken. Can I play this video?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if it's going to come through or not, but let me know if you can hear it well.
I don't hear anything right now.
It'll come.
No, not hearing him.
Can you hear that?
No.
You can't hear that?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I have to.
When you shared screen, they might have had to click an audio. Like on the right side there's an audio tab, but
yeah. Let me. How about that?
Here, let me bring it up.
So Eric von Daniken is the godfather of. He wrote the Chariots of the Gods, and he is the father of the ancient astronaut theorists.
Forward, almost like a rising motorcyclist.
Can you
He
hear it
has
now?
his nose
Yeah.
kind of oxygen mask. He uses his upper hand to manipulate the knot. You see his lower hand, he manipulates some controls. He's sitting on a kind of chair in a sort of capsule.
When Eric looked at that lid, he saw a Mayan king in a rocket ship. And that guy was returning to the stars, going back into space. It was an exciting interpretation. And it was one of the main things in Chariots of the Gods. And when other people looked at that lid and saw his explanation, they had to agree with him.
The Palenque slab from Mexico. How cool is that? It's a 1-to-1 replica. And this one is made out of wood. The original is made out of limestone. This is wild. If you look at the band of glyphs that border the slab, they talk about King Pakal's journey to the underworld. If this is King Pakal's journey to the Milky Way, then the meaning all of a sudden changes, because the ancient astronaut theory has suggested that what this represents is someone sitting in some type of a craft lifting off into space. And I'm getting goosebumps. This is not even the original. And just looking at it, it's very exciting to me to be once again confronted with King Pakal in his spaceship.
It was not a spaceship. It was a sacrifice. So what I realized from looking at all the Mayan tablets that have been pouring out of Mexico, and you can see that stuff on at my website, theorionlines.com, under Mayan. But I realized while looking at this stuff, I realized this man was in the same position as King Pakal in his rocket ship. And I went, oh my God, there it is. There he is. And I went to go look at the rocket ship, and it's not a rocket ship. It's actually a gigantic sacrificial knife being plunged into King Pakal with blood pouring out on the sacrificial altar and being pushed in by Kukulkan, Draco. So the great Eric von Däniken was wrong.
Quick question from the audience from Facebook. Or Richard French says there's a volcano called Popocatépetl that I have been watching in Mexico that's spewing ash constantly, that a fellow live streams every day, supposed to have UFO sightings. What's your guest thought on that?
Oh, I'm sure they're watching all that stuff. They probably go in to get samples and readings, or travel through the tubes, you know, to get into inner Earth. But that's as far as I can tell you.
Do you think that this, all these other beings are under the same dome? They're just in different lands. There's the inner Earths, different islands, or do you subscribe to, the heliocentric model that we're spinning around the sun, and they're coming from different places in the universe?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's a sphere that we're living on, and that the aliens have been actually living under coming out of Antarctica, and there's actually a gigantic hole down there where they live in. I think that the Earth may possibly be a hollow Earth, but I don't know how far deep that hole goes at the bottom of the Earth there. But they've been living down there, but they've been living all over the place. They've been living amongst us, walking around, looking like human beings when they're not. They've been, and I'm not talking about like, your construction worker, although they could be construction workers. I'm talking about in government, running politicians. Mostly, all those secret societies out there are all based on extraterrestrial contact. Politicians, religion, all of it is based off of extraterrestrial contact they've been having for thousands of years. All the secret societies, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, all of religions, everything is based off of extraterrestrial contact.
So are they fallen angels? Are they demons?
You can call them that if you want to call them that. That's it, and that's fine. And you don't have to take it from me just finding evidence that these beings were being called Aten, the one true God. Who knows? I don't know. Were these beings God? Are they God? I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure they are, with the name, they're the only beings ever depicted in their likeness. But yeah.
But would they want us to think that they are the God, so that way we slave for them and we, give up our energy, sacrifice to them, and they've convinced the people here that they're gods, but maybe not so much
that's what they did.
As the creator.
That's what they did. No, I think these beings are the creator. These beings are the ones who adjusted us, because that's what the war has been about. The war has been evil versus good. And as far as I can tell, these beings were persecuted and conquered by this other group, this Orion group.
And they're the evil ones.
They're the evil ones who've been in control of the planet for the past 6,000 years. Now, I can also tell you that, and it's been changing hands. It's been changing hands. Like, for example, here, this was what, 2,000, 3,000 years after these wars were being fought. So 3,000 years later in Egypt, Aten, King Akhenaten shows up and declares there's only one God, and his name is Aten. And this came from, sorry for jumping around.
No, all good, man. We're following you.
This came from let me see if I can find it. Shit. So there were many gods, and you can see that they were had animal heads with human bodies, and I think that was because they weren't allowed to draw the gods in their likeness. So they drew with the animal heads as their species of origin. I think that's what happened. And what happened was, see, they've been fighting, they've been working together, pitting humanity against each other. And that's what all those wars have been fought, every single one of them, every single one. It's been the Alpha Draconian and the Orion group. Alpha, Omega have been working together, controlling the elite and the kings of this world, the politicians, over us for thousands of years. And that's what's been going on. But anyway, with what happened in Egypt was there were many gods. And then all of a sudden, King Akhenaten shows up and declares there's one true God, Aten, who we are being told, oh, these are his children. And I know better. When the Nazca alien mummies came out, they're the same species. They're the same species. So that means they're not his children. So what about the sun? Well, it's interesting because you see the ball in all of these ancient paintings and all of that. Oh, I'm gonna make you guys sick. Sorry.
No, all good, man. Well, this is okay.
You can see in the Vatican, you see it's kind of mechanical, a golden ball, golden sphere at ground zero, United Nations, with the pineal gland, the pine cone. And it's in Revelations. It's what Jesus is standing on. So I know that the beings with the sphere are the good aliens. And this is the war between the satanic elite and Space Force. Satanic elite. Revelations. It's Revelations. And I know that's correct because of the star alignment that happened September 23rd, 2017. But all of this happened, and I was just like, oh, when that star alignment happened, I realized that they abducted St. John, brought him into the future, and showed him a possible outcome, and then returned St. John back and helped him write the book of Revelations. Now, unfortunately, the devil has been busy. The devil changed Revelations. and has been changing the Holy Bible this whole time. But that's because Rothschild was the banking agency who took over for the Vatican in 1823 and started manipulating the Bible and to what it is today, which is selling people false lies, bullshit. And I know it's hard to believe, but so I knew, I guess, certain things from in the future, believe it or not.
Didn't the Bible originate though from like the Sumerian tablets? Like a lot of these stories
Yeah.
and all of these
Oh,
other
of course.
religions have just taken,
Yes.
from the original and then they've made their own version of it.
That's what they say. Yes, but yes, and they made their own version of it, but there's some truth to these stories that they had. But it's mixed. It's to deceive humanity, and honestly. So let's see, what else can I talk about here? How about I talk about Orion? I'll start with Orion, I guess, because it's very important to know about Orion, the Orion group. So almost every ancient site aligns to Orion. The Nazca lines, the lines on Hawaii, the Great Pyramids align to Orion's belt. The Zia pyramids in China, Napa Playa aligns to Orion. Teotihuacan is Orion. The Adams calendar aligns to Orion. Stonehenge aligns to Orion. There's Orion in it. And what was happening here was these extraterrestrials were coming down and they were demanding sacrifice. They were feeding off of us, off of human beings. And they would have these followers who would help them get, people to bring to sacrifice. And this was happening all over the earth throughout all different times. This Orion group was coming around. The Thurnborough Hezes, they were in all over the UK. Oh man, they were just happening. And so what I found out was the Orion group is a satanic force who takes over star systems. And when I started looking into the whole satanic thing, I found that was true. That they all knew about Orion. They all worship the aliens from Orion. And yeah, there's so much evidence. It's so overwhelming.
What would the evidence be that Orion is satanic, and what does satanic mean, to the Orion group? Like, how would you get that correlation that they were satanic?
My many different ways. Specifically, at every single one of these sites, cruel and twisted discoveries were found that these children were being tortured and bound and then buried there at every single
satanic meaning sacrifice, satanic meaning feeding off of humans, sacrificing, pedophilia, all that kind of stuff would be part of this satanic
adreno, Chrome. Yeah, that. And that's what the Illuminati is. They all worship these satanic, all originating from contact they were having thousands of years ago all over the great UK, all over the land. The Grand Canyon, the Hopi Americans were involved with Orion. The Mayan culture was all Orion, and it's the same thing out of every society. The Mayan, the Aztec, Egyptian, it's always the same group of gods. That's because it's the Orion group. They were the same gods. They were just depicted differently because of the time change and the distance of where they were showing up. It's very complicated, but I'll get to it. So, with the whole Nazi thing, Paperclip Project, Operation Paperclip, and Operation High Jump. Well, when I started looking at the evidence, which I have to go back to show the evidence, this is very important because we've been lied to. When I went through all of the evidence, because there were all these leaks of all this footage of these Nazis playing with UFO technology. And I'm like, wow, how did they get that technology? Was it true that they were, getting this stuff from contact with extraterrestrials? And, I went through all the evidence, which is what I'm showing you now. The Nazi bell, which is actually, it's not a time traveling bell. It's a anti-gravity engine that they finally got stabilized, and that was a shot of it being stabilized. But oops, sorry, didn't mean to show that.
It's okay.
But anyway, I was going through all of the evidence of the Nazi bell and all of these fantastic craft, and I was like, how did they get their hands on this technology? And I thought to myself, you know what if the Holocaust was directly involved? And I thought to myself, why just kill them when you can kill them and trade for technology? And it made sense. And I went, holy shit. And 6 months later, I discovered that the Nazi death marches were built in the shape of Orion to honor Orion. So Orion, the satanic aliens, could watch their food being marched to their death, because it's the all-seeing eye. So they could watch their food being marched to their death. That's why they built it in the shape of Orion. So when the Allies showed up, found out what the hell was going on, shut it down, they went down to Antarctica to go flush them out. Well, this time, when they went down to Antarctica, they were confronted with the extraterrestrials and the Nazis, and Operation High Jump with Admiral Byrd got his ass kicked. And he came limping back and told what was happening, what happened down there. And so in 1954, Eisenhower signed the Grenada Treaty, which was an agreement, the same agreement that the Nazis made 10 years prior. trading human beings for technology. And they started to work on building the deep underground military bases, which are built identical in the shape of Orion. And I know it's true because they built, and it's just not only in the same shape as Orion, but it's in the same size. It's in the identical size. Like the miles between each stop here. Yeah, it's the same size and shape as Orion. Secret deep underground military bases, which were all destroyed for some reason in 2019 by earthquakes. Huh, that's a mystery. Yeah, well, we were all just about to be taken out. And it's I wish I was kidding, but I have evidence of the whole thing. The whole thing. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it needs to come out. They need to tell the truth. But anyway, trading human beings for technology with the Greys. And so it was the same deal that they made. This time it was in secret so they could operate going undetected by us as they did this whole, where have all those children been going? Huh. You know? Yeah. So, Orion is not good. All of these ancient sites and watching all those people doing tourists walking all up and down the ancient pyramids. It's so disturbing because they were killing human beings and eating us. They've been eating us. Yeah, eating us. Sacrifice.
So we've been told that they feed off of our energy. They feed off of our loosh. They want us to have this, fear, this negativity, this division, this angst. They feed on that energy. So they do that, but as well as they drink the blood and eat the people as well? Or is the feeding off the energy just a deflection from them actually feeding off of, humanity?
Great question. Yes, both. And I'm not here to scare you. Maybe I am here to scare you awake. But I hope you take the information very seriously, because this symbol of Orion, it's in the Holocaust Museum. If you can look it up yourself, it's the Nazi death marches. And so if this is correct, of course they built the identical railroads. Of course they did. And that's the CIA and all those people. It's very complicated. Because it's multifaceted, and I'm doing the best I can with trying to explain everything, because it's almost ridiculous. It's scary. And yes, they do feed off of loosh, and they do take people and harvest them. But
so that was the Eisenhower Agreement, saying that they would allow these beings to take American citizens as long as they, traded for technology.
Yes, that's what they did. And they found out that they were taking way more people than agreed upon, and they weren't keeping tabs on everyone they were taking. And they were finding human mutilations all over the great United States. And so basically, what these military men did was they allowed these aliens to do whatever they want, come in, take everybody, and unbeknownst to anyone, in trade for technology, that's what they did. And it's unbelievable what they've done. They've cursed all of humanity. So what happened was when they made the deal with the Greys, and the Greys take the children, and the Greys take the children, and they give the children to the Alpha Draconian, the reptilians, to be harvested alive, because they want the fear in the blood, in the adrenalized blood, to drink the blood. And that's how they eat us. But that's why all these children go missing, and why, all these elite are going from war-torn countries to help the children, and Haiti to help the hurricane children. And yeah, well, they go in there and they have their people take the children, and they bring them to give them to the aliens. So anyway, they made the deal. Eisenhower made the deal with the Greys. Shortly thereafter, another group of extraterrestrials showed up and said, "Hey, we'll help you get rid of the Greys," but they offered no technology. And the government said, "Nah, we don't want to do that. We'll take our chances." And those aliens said, "You're not spiritually ready," because they weren't. And it's very complex, because they were going, "Oh, it's night first." That's what the Satan worshippers has been calling it, and the aliens. They've been doing night first, and night first, NIGHT, night before day, which is, we're at the precipice right now of day. This is Revelations, and we're at the precipice of the Great Awakening, and this is it. This is the Great Awakening. God and the devil are all extraterrestrial, based off of extraterrestrial contact we've been having for thousands of years. And let's see what else I can get into here.
David Nash says, "I hope Laura Eisenhower don't watch this. She's actually a friend of ours, and we've had her here on the show."
Oh, that's fine. I have nothing against.
Oh, I think what he's
Laura
meaning
either.
is we said that Eisenhower made the deal.
Well,
so
that's allegedly, but that doesn't matter. It's these black the people in charge of the military, whoever they were, they did.
and she knows about that deal. She knows
Yeah.
about it anyway. So
Yeah,
it's,
I know her. I've seen her stuff, but and I know that she, sticks up for for her grandfather. But that's fine. That and it's whatever. Somebody made a deal with these things, and it wasn't good. And well, remember those spheres? There's a whole bunch of them on video. So yeah, my website is full of video evidence of the extraterrestrial craft and how the aliens speak. The Stan Romanak connection to a gray. Whistleblowers who are coming out saying that they have been trading children for technology. Rick Doty, and it's true. And these Satan worshippers knew all about the Orion group, the reptilians, and what they were doing, which has been fattening us up with high fructose corn syrup. Let me keep going, I guess, with Orion. Any questions? I'm sure there's
No, keep going.
Okay. So, affiliated with every single one of these Orion connections is also human sacrifice. There is the Orion's Belt in Manhattan. The World Trade Center is set up in the shape of Orion, just identical to the Great Pyramids. That's because they all knew about Orion. They've been worshiping them for thousands of years, secretly. Orion all over the planet at different times. Orion on Mars. Not only were they building these spots in the shape of Orion, but they use it as their symbology. And have you ever heard of symbolism will be their downfall? This is it. NASA, and I realized that these stars, I realized what these stars were. The Orion, Draco, and the Palladian. And when Space Force came out in 2019, they got rid of Orion. And that was about the same time I figured out the connection between the Nazi death marches and the deep underground military bases being in the shape of Orion. So I think it's an interesting coincidence.
So is Space Force a good thing?
Yeah, Space Force is a great thing. We need Space Force. And it's very complicated, like I said. They want to do controlled disclosure. They don't want me telling anybody. And they block me on every single social media account. I can't even tell you how many times I've shared all my good information with these people, and they just ignore me. But they want to do something called controlled disclosure. And that's their manipulation of the truth getting out to the public. They don't want some asshole coming out saying that God or something that is different from what you've been told. And especially with the whole trading human beings for technology, they don't want people to hear, to know that information.
Mary says, remember, there are good ETs too. So are there good extraterrestrials that are fighting these Orion groups, these Dracos, that want to free humanity? Is this actually going on?
Yes, there is the positive side of the alien group has shown up in 2016, and that's quite evident with all of the sightings of mass sightings that have been happening around the world since 2016. Yes, I'm I'm sure they are, because they stopped the harvest that was going to happen. So the Pentagon is the center of the star, upside down star. But behind the Pentagon, they built the Air Force Memorial that aligns to Orion's belt at 33 degrees in the night sky, the morning sky. And I was driving down the street and going to protest the Pentagon with the human mutilations, and I looked over and I saw this, and I knew immediately what it was. It was an homage to Orion. Yeah. But yes, there are positive aliens, and we are being helped. But there's many species that are watching this whole thing. Okay. And they have been working together in something they call the balance, which is kind of messed up because they allowed the negative side to be here doing what they did to all those children. And because humanity was too stupid, they didn't know. They were having a hard time trying to figure this whole thing out. Oh, everything's Orion, by the way. They named everything Orion. Solar winds, the Orion platform. All of the night, all of their secret societies have something to do with night. As above, so below. Oh, it's always darkness before the dawn. How merciful the night. Let there be night. From chaos comes order. You know, some of these are good. From chaos comes order. The one with the under the rose, knowledge itself is power. Majestic 12. So some of these groups are good, but most of them are of this evil dark side. And that's who rules the world. These two groups, and they fight each other like they're fighting each other right now over humanity. But the Orion group is also known as the Black Suns. They are also known as the Black Suns, and they're on all of the Azov group in the Ukraine, because the Ukraine soldiers are all satanic. And it's not just a Nazi symbol. They were worshiping the Black Suns group and the Vril, who was having this contact back in the 30s and 40s to gain this technology, the Nazis. And the symbol is actually the alien symbol, the Orion group symbol of the Black Suns. And how about Black Hole Sun? Won't you come and wash away the pain? Yeah, Black Hole Sun. The Black Sun's rising. And and Orion's everywhere. The CIA Project Orion was to drug and hypnotize mental patients so they go shoot up schoolyards, thus inflaming the anti-gun lobby. It was called Project Orion, CIA Project Orion. FBI Project Orion. Orion allows the FBI and its partners to coordinate crisis situations no matter how many personnel are involved and where they are located. Yeah, it's all satanic. They want to take your guns away. Why do they want to take your guns away? Because it's a battle for the soul of our nation. You see, we were all just about to be adrenochrome harvested. And it was called Agenda 21 until Trump got into office and Q and stopped it. And they stopped it in 2018. And I knew about it because I was paying attention. I was watching, collecting all the evidence, going, okay, I thought that they were going to kill us immediately. It was summer of 2018, and I thought they were going to wipe us all out until I saw the double cross happen. And the double cross happened in December of 2018 when it came out that there was an unprecedented amount of activity at Area 51, that lizard people were coming out of the ground. And I saw that and I was like, what? December 7th, 2018. It's like finally some action. 12 days later, the Pentagon pyramid showed up over the Pentagon. It was a massive toroidal-shaped, pyramid-shaped craft that hovered above the Pentagon at 4 a.m., December 19th, 2018, for half an hour. And I knew that it was the all-seeing eye. And we have 3 different perspectives of the vehicle. But this them showing up like that told me that the information 12 days earlier was true, that they double-crossed the aliens just about to attack us. And they stopped Agenda 21. And the aliens showed up over the Pentagon to find out what the fuck was going on.
Here I am's got a good question, which, my question as well.
Sure.
They say that they need the humans to feed off them. They say they need the humans to feed off the Loosh. Why would they want to wipe us all out if they need Loosh and we may power this place entirely for that matter?
Because they knew that the secret was going to be fall. They're time travelers. They knew that someone was going to come along and reveal the truth to the people, that they've been here using us as a food source and adrenochrome harvesting children. So how do you get rid of it? Well, kill them all with adrenochrome harvest. And that's what the plan was. That's why we're going through this crazy time with politics right now. Yeah, this all goes back to Q. If Hillary won, it would be hell on earth. If Hillary won, yeah, because she would have released the aliens on America, which would have destroyed America and the planet. They would have taken over the planet. And I don't know exactly how it was going to happen, but I know it was going to happen. It was to cover up what they've done. The adrenochrome trade that they've been having running this whole time, 100 years. And not only just 100 years, but thousands of years they've been using us as a food source. So in order to cover all that up, the Satan worshipers were going to kill us off. Crimes against children unite all humanity across party lines. Yeah, guess what? They've been feeding children to the aliens. Sometimes you can't tell the public the truth. You have to show them. And, well, the hunters become the hunted. Yeah, I've been hunting Orion. And this is unacceptable. unacceptable. Trading people for technology? Oh man. Oh man. I can't even imagine how many laws this violates up there with the Galactic Federation watching. So it's
You know, when you hear the all roads lead to Rome, you take that to the next level. All roads lead to Orion.
yes, yeah, sure, yeah, yeah. It's Orion. Orion is key. Symbolism will be their downfall. Absolutely. They built everything, like named everything Orion. They built the Nazi death marches in the shape of Orion. They built the deep underground military bases in the shape of Orion. And I figured out what this was. And Gene Dakota's over there going, "Oh, it's Gemini." Yeah, Gemini. Yeah, Gemini. It's not Gemini. It's Zeta Reticuli.
Are you
It's
talking
Zeta.
about Gene Decode?
Yeah, Gene Decode.
Okay, we've had him on here a few times. He'll be back on in a few days.
Yeah, yeah. It's not Gemini. It's Zeta Reticuli. But he never he had this picture. He never this picture right here. He never explained what this was. He's just like, yeah, there it is, and then kept going. And I'm like, no, you have to explain what the significance of this. The Nazis were ordered to build these death marches in the shape of Orion to honor the aliens from Orion, so the aliens could watch their food being marched to their death, to watch the Jews being marched to their death. So
some people feel that the Jewish people are the aliens that were brought here to take over.
I was just about to get into that because it's so confusing. But if you look at it and you watch it with true heart compassion, you can see what the truth is. And the truth is that the Jewish people are not the enemy. It's the Zionists who are the Moloch worshippers. Moloch is Orion. Satan, look at it, the Black Suns is Orion and Draco. Orion and Draco. The Black Suns, Moloch, Baal, Satan, the devil, all of those things are Orion and Draco. And so what happened after this, the Nazi death marches and their sacrifice for technology, Rothschild and all the Westinghouse and all those elite, that's what it was. It was the elite behind the whole thing. The elite funded it, funded World War II to get Germany up to par with Russia. But after that war, they used American taxpayers to fund everything instead of their own money, the elite. So after World War II, the wonderful Rothschild, Jacob Rothschild, the Rothschilds, they took over Palestine and called it Israel. And, but that was for Moloch. It was to be used for evil. But the Jewish people, maybe there's a better way to explain this. Thousands of years ago, like the first story is actually from the Jewish Bible, that there's a flat earth, there's a dome, there's a black mass, like a meteor or a comet at the bottom of the earth called the Black Sun, and it travels up through the pole and collects all the negative energy. Well, that was the story. And these what happened was the Jews were slaves, mining gold and doing that stuff. But the Orion group showed up and took over and forced them to worship Moloch, and Baal, and that's why they were seen burning their firstborn child. Well, it wasn't just burning them; they were actually giving them to the aliens who were eating people, the firstborn child. And Moses broke the Jews away from Orion with the help of God. And I'm pretty sure it's the Nazca alien mummies helped Moses leave Egypt under Orion rule. And then there was the 10 Commandments that were brought down, and they were told, do not worship Moloch, because Moloch is the Orion group. They're evil aliens who've been eating us. And but the Zionists were left, left with that, and they found it. What I think they did was they did all of this, the whole Nazi death marches, as revenge for Moses leaving Egypt, leading the Jews out of Orion rule. But that's my interpretation of what's going on here. The Jews are not the enemy. The Jews are just, and they say they're not, they don't want anything to do with the Zionist bullshit. And I know that some of them didn't follow the good or the God way. They were like, no, we're going to keep doing the whole Moloch worship thing. Yeah, that's what happened. They're Zionists, which are basically Moloch worshipers, which is basically Satan worshipers. I just lump them all together because it's one and the same. There's good and they're bad. Well, yeah, it's not good. How about that?
Dr. Scott from our Rumble channel says, let's hope it's not Human Taco Tuesday for the Orion group today.
Yeah, oh, it is Taco Tuesday. Gee whiz. Yeah, well, and there's so much evidence. I mean, there's a baby factory that Ukraine has where they were walking around, showing off a deep underground base with babies in it in Ukraine, where they were growing babies. I was just like, oh my God, talk about, being clear. But that's what's been going on. And Trump and the military secretly took out most of it in 2017, 2018. But yeah, that's what's been going on. Pretty crazy, right?
Totally. We have Reefer17 from our Rumble said Marduk is in Pine Gap, Australia at this very moment, awaiting further justice in a dump. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
This whole thing is really, it's really beat me up because I've had to try to convince people that this is all real and that this is happening, and for the past 7 years, and from what I noticed, no one really believed me. No one really gave a shit. And I was just like, and it really affected me. It really made me sick because I know what I had, and it needed to get out to the public. And well, people weren't just weren't willing to share the information to get it out. And yeah, it made me very sick, very sad, very sad.
Well, there was also not just that people weren't, believing and sharing out, because a lot of people are under a spell, but there's also the censorship, not reaching people. You could have 5,000 friends and maybe your stuff goes up on 10 or 15 people's walls or timelines. And so out of those 10 or
Yeah.
15 people, maybe one or two people align with you. So really, out of 5,000 people or 10,000 people, you might have one or two that actually align and share it out. So it seems like nobody cares, or nobody, is awake or aware to some of this stuff. But, in reality, most people aren't seeing people that are against the grain, that aren't part of the script. They doesn't get promoted in the algorithms at all.
And it's not just being like totally cut off. They started blocking me in 2018 from Facebook and all that stuff. But yeah. What else can I touch on here? How about the NATO? In 2023, NATO had an exercise in France that had all these countries partake, and they called it Orion 23. It's all satanic. Orion 23. The deep underground military bases aligned to the missing 411. All of the national forests where all those people going missing. Yeah, it's their hunting ground. The cattle mutilations in 1970, a map of the deep underground military bases and the map of where they've been hunting for cattle. The Air Force Memorial that aligns to Orion. The caduceus, the medical insignia, is Draco and Orion going after the pineal gland. So our own medical insignia is poison. It's poison. They're insane.
So that was that Chet Hanks, right? Tom Hanks' son?
Yeah, Chet Hanks, all of his tattoos. He has the all-seeing eye. He has Orion right next to it, the Orion's belt. He has the caduceus. He has Alpha and Omega, which I'm pretty sure is Alpha Draconian and Omega Orion, who have been ruling over humanity this whole time. But that's Chet Hanks. He actually changed his tattoo because, well, of this getting out. When people find out what's been going on.
So is people like Tom Hanks and Chet Hanks, are they part of this Orion group? Are they just the foot soldier minions? Are they just,
No, they're part of the Illuminati.
But the Illuminati, are they the Orion group again, or are they just here commanded to carry out the Orion group's orders?
I think they're here to carry out the Orion group's orders, but I don't know. How do I know if they're reptilian or not? They could be.
So they could be shapeshifters. They could be these reptilians that look like these actors and actors' kids, but they actually could be these beings from some other place.
Yeah. Oh, I have no doubt. Yeah. Here's a mural at Comet Ping Pong of an alien playing Comet with a human, but it's the war of the balance. over humanity and over the earth. Comet ping pong.
I saw you had that James Elephantis and it said De Rothschild. Is he actually a Rothschild?
Yeah, there he is. He's in the picture 5 people away
Oh, wow.
from the Pinder. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why they targeted him with the Podesta files. You have to, what you see, they have time travel. The U.S. military has time travel. The U.S. military and the elite know what's coming. And, which kind of helps me because it allows me to figure out what's coming as well. And I can tell you, because they've ignored me for so long, they're going to do a fake alien invasion. They're going to do a fake alien invasion, and it's going to scare the shit out of everybody. But while that's happening, they're going to capture the deep state. Don't tell them. But that's what they're going to do. And then they're going to come out, and it's going to be Space Force, and this is what Space Force is. And then they're finally going to tell the truth. And then I will be free from this nightmare burden. But you're going to have to wait and see. I mean, we're at the precipice right now. It's like any minute they're going to pull this thing. I don't know when, but they do. They've got the Looking Glass device. They have the Orion Cube, which is a quantum temporal time viewing device. Crystal balls. Let me look into your future. Yeah, the real crystal balls are alien technology. How about magic wands? It's not the devil. It's technology. Yes, there's dark magic, but white magic is not evil. But it's alien technology, getting stuff to levitate and, do whatever a magic wand does. Yeah.
So what do you know about the Project Looking Glass?
Well, too much, I guess.
Is it really like they have some type of technology where they get a whole bunch of psychics around some kind of glass and then they can peer into the future and they kind of tell them what they think is going to happen in the timeline, and then those timelines can alter, depending on how humanity plays their role here?
Yes, but I think that but I've heard that they've been using AI to monitor the timeline, and that AI just sends back what it's seeing, and they're able to manipulate the timeline based on information from the future. It has to be closed off, but I think they're using AI. I wouldn't be surprised. The truth is that the AI started spitting out the results exactly for years, for decades. They kept coming out with the same result. It's going to end. The end is going to happen, and it's not our end, it's their end. Their end is going to happen, and I believe it based on what I've been watching. What we've been experiencing is a chess game. And it's been a chess game, and the loser knows they're lost. It's over. Rothschild, he already knew that he lost, and the other player, which is the good side, who is going to win. But all Rothschild could do was move the king around the chessboard to avoid getting caught. That's what we've been seeing for the past 7 years. Is watching the person who's going to lose move the king one space. It's ridiculous. It's check. It's check. It's every move he makes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the king is moving every step. He can move all over the board forever, and the good side is chasing after him, and that's what this is. It's just watching the guy who's going to lose move the piece one space until it's over, until he resigns, which should be any time.
But that's what I'm going to ask. So you think that there's not many moves left, and that, it's basically surrounded in all fronts, and that, things will be revealed in the next month or two? Like, do you think that before the election, some people say, July 11th, when he gets sentenced, is a big time that something might happen?
Well, the truth is that the Holy Bible's been changed and Revelations was changed, and Lucifer is not the devil. They lied about Lucifer and the great red dragon because they're time travelers. The great red dragon catches this. These are pictures of by William Blake, and this is entitled Moloch, and that's the child sacrifice on it's Rothschild in his house, and it's the red dragon watching his house burning as he's feeding Moloch children. And that just can't happen any longer. And so this is Satan's army, the painting. Satan's army. And it's not Satan. Satan's army is the Pentagon, all the military men who've been doing this whole thing for the aliens, for Orion, the Orion group. This is the red dragon, Lucifer, the light bearer. Lucifer's not the bad guy. People have been lied to. And this is the deal made between the devil and the God side, the balance, called Night First, allowing the negative aliens, because they were at a more sophisticated level of existence, to reign over Earth first, to use us as a food source first, because they were way above us human beings in technology terms. And it appears to me like the deal was, can they wake up? Can they see through all the bullshit and be able to explain what's been really happening, the truth? And yes, we can. It's all here. And they all knew about the adrenochrome harvesting. This is the Pope carrying a boulder, a black rock in blood. what does that have to do with Jesus? That's the knowledge of what they've been doing to children. Building their temple as a snake's head so the people could fit in the mouth of the snake right before it's swallowed. Yeah. It's evil. They're evil. They've been so corrupted, and what have they been doing to children this whole time for decades? My father was actually a victim of the Catholic Church. He was molested in the 60s in New Jersey. Yeah, great stuff. But it's almost over.
We had a question here. Let
Sure.
me scroll back up to it from a good friend of ours, Jim Lee, climate viewer.
Sure.
Ask him if he knows about gravitational wave detectors being used to view the past and the future.
Oh, well, I haven't heard about that, but it's possible. I think that just like came out in somewhere. I read about it somewhere that they were using neutrinos or something like that. This gravitational. I don't know if they're using it for that exactly, but anything's possible. Yeah.
He's got another question here. Ask the guest about the Valley of Hinnom, also known as Gehenna or Gehenninnom.
I don't know it. Sorry.
So Gehenna was what they called, well, they turned into hell. So Gehenna was the burning fiery pit that was around Israel, in that time.
Oh yeah.
And that's where they burnt the bodies, and the guy was a garbage dump basically. And that's where, instead of, because they didn't want, the rotting bodies to cause disease and stuff, they would take the body and they would put it into this Gehenna. And then the church changed it and saying, look, if you don't obey us, your body is going to burn in this hell. You're going to go to hell, which it was actually just Gehenna that they were talking about. But they switched it to put fear into, obedience, that if you weren't obedient, that you were going to burn in hell for eternity. But Gehenna is still there. It just doesn't burn like it used to be, a fiery dump that just burned all the time. And I think that's what, Jim is talking about.
Is hell real? Yeah, hell's real. It's underground. These beings are for thousands of years ago, they were called demons and angels because the human beings didn't have any other language to explain. They didn't know anything about planets and other star systems and solar system. They didn't know any of that kind of stuff. So they formed their own language of it, demons, angels. But we reached a point where we're able to grasp, spaceships and UFOs, and it's technology, and we're able to grasp extraterrestrials, and that's what we're dealing with. But it's all coming out, by the way. Tom DeLonge discussed the two forces that are fighting each other. The whole thing about how human beings were created by lesser creatures who themselves have no direct knowledge of the true God, and who indeed are the obstacles of the divine revelation, which is very interesting because, well, he had to know knowledge that somebody was going to come along saying that these beings were God. And he had to write, well, these creatures don't know. It's crazy. It's really it's so much. It's so crazy. It's a house of mirrors and smoke and loud banging. Loud banging. Yeah, proxy war.
What do you know about the black cube?
Satan's cube, this Saturn. Well, I
Kiwi
thought,
Kiwi says here Black Rock, the Kaaba, the black cube, Saturn. So would
yeah,
this all be Satan, Saturn's cube, the black sun? It all is the same.
oh yeah, I allegedly, basically I just clump it all together because I don't need to know, who's the gray and who are they working with, it's impossible to know that information unless you're dealing with it directly, and I'd just rather wait until until Lou Elizondo tells the truth, or someone from the military. I mean, somebody, like, seeing them come out with those 3 videos was just so ridiculous after all of the evidence that I've seen, and that can be viewed at my website. I'm not going to play any of it, but there's hours of extraterrestrial vehicles and all that at the website. And I have 2 books that I've written. The first book you can click to download for free and read for free, or you can buy it, but it's very expensive. It's more for, like, somebody a fan or whoever who wants to have a coffee table type book. But I did write a cheaper second book called Catastrophic Disclosure: The End of Night First and the Age of Reason. Very informative. It has the whole story that I basically just told you, but much more clearer, much more together. It's full of pictures and all kinds of stuff. But yeah.
Now, what do you know about, Jesus or the word Jesus? Because I heard that in some of these deep underground bases
Mhm.
that you weren't that was one there wasn't many rules what they told you, but you weren't allowed to say the word Jesus. You weren't allowed to maybe
Yeah.
Yeshua, or did you hear about that, and why do you think that name
Well,
has so much power?
I've heard that Jesus does frighten away these negative beings who show up at night. Um, I don't know. Uh, I mean, I think I've heard the story about that being down in the deep underground military bases and saying Jesus' name scares them away. But what I'm familiar with is more so the aliens coming into your home, benevolent, I'm sorry, malevolent aliens, and saying Jesus' name repels them. And all I could say is, hey, if it works for them, if you ever have an experience, I would definitely use his name to, you know, in your protection, right?
What do you
So,
make of TZTZ on our YouTube saying Donald Trump is Jesus Christ?
no. Jesus, what I think happened, I have evidence that Jesus actually looks alien. Let me see if I can find it.
I heard that Jesus was actually, leading the Ashtar command. Did you ever hear about that?
No. No. Um yeah. This is great because there are the beings depicted, the same picture of Jesus's crucifixion with the two men flying, but these are depicted aliens. One side the negative and the other side the positive, fighting each other. But look at Jesus's face. Why would anybody draw Jesus like that? And this again is a 2 feet across by 4 feet long Mayan tablet. And there's thousands, hundreds of these tablets with alien stuff coming out, and sacrificing, and there's one with Mary and Baal. Sex with the aliens, fighting the aliens. But yeah, I have evidence that Jesus didn't look exactly like they want you to believe. And that would make sense considering that half of Jesus's DNA would be extraterrestrial, right? So if Mary was a virgin birth, I mean, that if the story is all there, what's been going on in the 80s and the 70s and 80s, women have been being taken and implanted and inseminated, and then they're abducted again 3 months later to have the fetus removed. It's the same thing. They did that to Mary and had this virgin birth because they're time tailors. They're tailors of the timeline. They can slip in and out of the timeline. They're time tailors.
Well, like Kiwi says, everyone knows that the figure used as the photo of Jesus is Caesar Borgia, who is a grandson of the Pope. So here it doesn't look like Caesar Borgia on this cross. This would be more of a realistic depiction, do you think, then, Ryushin?
Yeah, I think it might be. But I don't know. It's there, so it's possible. And for what happened, he was God inseminated Mary with a virgin birth, had Jesus, so he was half human, half what? Extraterrestrial. So he was teaching, and I think that's why they killed him, because he looked different. But that's just a feeling I have from going through all the evidence. So what happened was they killed him and he died. And he was dead for 3 days. And miraculously, he was healed after 3 days being dead and resurrected. Well, now that I understand that they were using technology, they probably just used the time tailoring, fixed Jesus, and then beamed him up on board and brought him into the future, which is how Jesus is coming back for the second coming. So he's coming. He's just slipping through the timeline right now. Everybody having a good time?
Oh yeah, the chat is lit up. We've got a few hundred people here, maybe like 100 or 250 people here live with us right now.
Wow, great.
Chat's going crazy. So we're gonna reach many thousands of people with this. So
great. That's awesome.
Appreciate and I've been putting your links into the chat. So That's great that people can actually download your book for free. And if they wanted to support you and your work, they could actually buy a copy of that book.
Yes, absolutely. Or you could help me by making a donation, which is at the top of my homepage, theorionlines.com. If you'd like, and everything usually goes back into the work. I also do shows. I do live shows, which I've been doing on YouTube and Rumble Live, where I've been talking this whole time. I find all kinds of stuff all the time. I'm going through stuff like, well, that's that, that's this, that's that, and it's great, good knowledge, a good place to get knowledge. So, also with the Orion lines, there's so many. It goes so deep, especially with this, the adrena, whatever, chrome harvesting. Yeah, and the high fructose corn syrup. Oh man, there's just so much evidence inside these, you know, tabs inside these menus. It's worth it. It's worth your time to check it out. JFK, his assassination, my video of going through all of JFK's assassination, the guy driving actually shot him in the head and killed JFK. But there were 4 shooters, and it was the CIA. Let's see, the moon, which was actually towed into orbit and by somebody. I don't know who, but it was towed into orbit, and I know it was towed into orbit for sure because the moon was adjusted specifically in one direction facing the Earth. It's stationary. It's impossible unless you had control over gravity to stop it in that particular. And it's not just that the moon faces one side to the Earth, but it's the distance is exactly 400 times the distance to the sun. It's just impossible to set those gigantic bodies in that position without great technology.
We've got some interesting comments here. Reefer says the JFK that got killed was a clone. At the same time, Linda says, was it the real JFK that was shot? I have my doubts about that. And then Digital Soldier. These are all on 3 different platforms, all came. Or was it a JFK's double? They looked very similar. 3 comments at the same time on 3 different platforms, basically similar. I just wanted to let you all know this Sunday, we're going to be interviewing Pascal Najati, who thinks or says that he is embodies or the reincarnation of JFK. So this will be some good questions to ask him this Sunday. So in case I, don't remember to ask, make sure you comment in the chat and ask some good questions because he feels he's working with Trump. He talks all about the Space Force and he feels that this is all going in, humanity's favor. So it's going to be an interesting interview. He called me from Europe or whatever, and I talked to him for about an hour on the phone and heard his story because I didn't really know too much about it. I just seen the little clips that people sent me. Definitely interesting. It's going to be a fascinating interview this Sunday on the Missing Link Live.
That's awesome.
Have you heard of Pascal Najati?
It sounds familiar. Cool. I hope it's a good time.
It always is. We never know what to expect when we come here on the Missing Link Live. So a lot of the people, like, I didn't know too much about your work. So this is me
Oh
getting
yeah,
introduced to you and all your work. There's a lot of people here that
yeah,
say we've been sharing your stuff out for years, and like people have
yes,
people have known you and your work
sure.
for a long time. So
Yes, and I'm very grateful for getting the information out.
yeah, well, we're running right around our 2 hour mark here. I would definitely
Yeah,
love to bring you on again. Is there anything that you wanted to kind of share with us here today before we start to wrap this up?
I think I'm good there. You know, um, again, I have a book out. It can be purchased. It can be found at the main website, theorionlines.com, and that's pretty much it. There's a ton of information at the website, and it's free. So,
What else can they find on the Orion's lines.com?
all kinds of information about MK Naomi. MK Naomi is AIDS, and how AIDS was built by a Navy surgeon in the U.S. and was released as a population control. All the chemical warfare against the people, how they've been poisoning us. The INW indication warnings, deception projects with sending out robotic aliens that they've gotten from the trade to people's houses and going into their houses. Yeah, it's pretty disturbing. A ton of information. John Lear, William Tompkins, William Cooper, Phil Schneider. Great information, and this stuff is key to how I figured out a whole bunch of stuff. But just by listening to William Tompkins, John Lear, William Cooper, Phil Schneider over and over and over again. William Cooper was full of information that was just undeniable and incredible. Thank you so much, Jesse. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you so much for coming and to, enlightening our audience to what's going on. I'm going to be interviewed in about 55 minutes with Brian Stavely on Dose of Reality. So we've had him a few times on our show, so he's going to be interviewing me on my spiritual experiences, maybe my near-death experience on different things. So if I'm going to be posting the links here soon, if you're all are interested in, hearing a little bit more about me, because I don't really share too much about me on this. It's all about the people that we're interviewing. You'll get to check that out. Brian Stavely, Dose of Reality, YouTube, Rumble, he's on all the different platforms. So any last thoughts before we wrap this up here, brother?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you so
awesome.
much for having me.
You're very welcome. And I'll book you in again. I thought this was great. I think, we'd like to share more of your information. May the source be with you and protection around you during this pivotal time in history. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge we all have collectively, the less power they have over us. For one love, one heart, one life. Namaste, everyone. And if they ever ask you to put on a breathing inhibitor again, you know what to say. No maske. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks Ryushin. And they hit us with the Facebook stars. I guess people can't do the stars. It says that we can do that. If anybody wants to support our work or our show, you can, there's links are in the description there. You can purchase some things, different things that we have available. And we'll just keep going. We have tomorrow. We have the water specialist, Shane McCarthy, and then we also have Dr. Jane Ruby. coming back for a third time. She worked for the pharmaceutical industry, and she's out exposing all the nefarious. She's been sued and all kinds of stuff. Oh, last question. Are you any relation to Dr. Robert Malone?
No.
No. Okay. I said I didn't think he was on a previous interview when I mentioned you that we're coming up, but I just wanted to make sure to know that I'm not saying something that isn't true.
No, probably a long time ago, but
Okay,
No.
awesome. Well, y'all have a good night. We'll see you next time we see you back here on the Missing Links. Thanks a lot, Ryushin.
thank you, Jesse. Thank you.
Okay, bye everyone.